welcome to grantfundsale.com, where we're passionate about building confidence through education. Today we have the privilege of interviewing Charl Norman, who is a founder of OnNet and many other startups. I hope you enjoy this interview. Cool, so Charl Norman, thanks for joining us today at grantfundsale.com, where we are passionate about educating people and getting them more confident about life. So let's start at the beginning. Where did you grow up and stuff?
Cool, well, shot for inviting me. Very cool to be here.
Oh, pleasure, man.
I grew up in Somerset West, about 55 kilometers out of Cape Town.
Somerset West.
Somerset West, known by a few. And I was there till about 14 years old. Then my parents wanted to be close to the beach and drink wine and sit on the balcony and look at people on the beach. So they moved to Gordons Bay, which is quite cool. Yeah. And I went to Parvale High School. Cool. Until about standard 7.
And that's where we met, right?
Yes, that's where we met. And I actually then dropped out of high school, which is a little known fact, to play golf full time. And there was 2 problems with that. A, I wasn't really that good at golf. B, subsequent to, playing lots of golf, I discovered the internet and taught myself how to program. So my parents saw that I wasn't really going to the driving range as much and forced me to go back to school. So I went to Somerset West private school, which is a friend of ours' school as well, and he'd allow you to do 2 years in one. So I did 8 and 9 in 1 year, and then did matric, and when I was 18, I moved to Cape Town. Yeah,
and I remember back in the day when you were young, like 15, 16 years old, you really got hold of this whole programming internet world while we would be on the beaches and that stuffing around. You were sitting in your room programming the hell out of whatever you were doing. And what caught your attention? How did you get caught up in it?
I discovered the internet, and then I was really fascinated about being able to build something that anyone from anywhere in the world could access. It was really thrilling to me that someone in Tokyo or someone in San Francisco, for example, could access something that you had built, content that you had created. So I taught myself how to program. Any late nights up with Americans that I met on programming forums, on MSN Messenger, chatting to them. Yeah. My dad used to burst into my room thinking that I was playing games. He'd have no idea what I was doing, obviously being like an old Afrikaans guy, But I was actually just
But programming in South Africa at that stage was
totally,
completely unknown sort of thing. So
but it was, I mean, you remember you guys came to the beach and then I would be sitting in my room coding,
So funny, man. But I mean, look at where it's taking you today, it's got you into a position to start up many different startups.
If you do anything for long enough, you're going to make something of it.
I think that's true. Hey? So tell us about Zooped Up, because I mean that's where it all really started for you, where you got
totally. So going. I started this site called zoopedup.com. It was a car, it's a website for car fanatics that like to modify their cars. Embarrassing enough, I used to be really into that. And people could upload photos of the stuff that they've done to their car, and we bolted forums onto it as well, so people could chat. And we used to go to all the racetracks and take photos and put the photos onto the site. And I even used to go on my scooter to Kalani. Funny enough, I didn't even have a car at the time.
Yeah.
To take pics and put it onto the site, and then hand out little cards, and then people would come back to the site to check out their photos. And it was really a playground for me to learn how to build, an online destination, and how to attract and retain visitors, etc.
And I mean, what's happened to Zooped Up now? I mean, because it's grown into such a big site.
So we sold it along with a few other websites, which I'm sure we'll touch on a little bit later, to Media24.
Okay.
So they've got lots of car magazines and car properties. So having this motoring community alongside that was a good fit for them. So they're operating it now, but I still keep tabs on it. Obviously, there's a sentimental.
Yeah, because I mean that's your baby, your startup,
Totally.
Okay, cool. And then tell us about your co-founding of Blueworld Communities in 2007, right?
Yes. So I met up with some guys, Bradley Voges and Brent Brooks. Brad is still a business partner to this day. They actually started the website called Blueworld, and what they did was they took pics in nightclubs.
Okay.
And next day you would wake up hungover with a card in your pocket, because once you've photo taken, you get the card, and then you could actually go onto the site and grab your photo. But they were just entrepreneurs and didn't really know anything about how to build a website and how to change up the design, etc., and build new functionality. So they brought me on board, and we formed a company called Blueworld Communities. Proceeded to build a few social communities within that framework. But Yeah, I mean, Blueworld was very rudimentary in the beginning. You would come and save your pic. That was it. But you had to register to get your photo. And we'd have photographers all over the country, branded photographers taking photos, handing out cards, and we'd sell advertising on the back of the cards, and those same advertisers would advertise on the website as well.
Okay.
So it created quite a cool online, offline advertising opportunity. At least that's how we sold it to the brand managers. And as our understanding of like the social web increased, we saw the likes of Friendster and MySpace, and obviously had heard of Facebook being in the universities in the States. We started copying bits that they were doing. Because we had users' details. Users could they had to register to save their photo. So they had like a little mini profile. So we started building out their profile, and next time the visitor logged in, they would have a full-on profile with all the photos that we've taken of them on their profile. And we built video sharing into the site, we built blogging into the site, we built status updates, all the stuff that we saw from these American companies, obviously, and trying to copy and add also African element to it. And then this was Blueworld, and by doing so, we had created this social networking platform that we could use to create social networks around any topic.
Okay, cool.
So, yeah, we did a music one as well called Speakerbox, which linked people up with their music interests. So if you liked a particular music genre, you can interact with people based on your music genre. So I think we did some pretty cool stuff back in the day, things that are now have become massive businesses in the States.
No, definitely, yeah. What do you think about, there's so many opportunities out there, like you spoke about now, the original co-founders of Blueworld Communities were just business guys, but they didn't have any techie sort of programming sort of information. How many examples out there today do you think there's amazing business concepts, but they need that programming sort of platform out there, and how do people get involved with the right sort of programmers to make these things a reality?
Yeah, I mean, the value in an idea lies in its execution, right? So I always advocate for entrepreneurs to try have a technical co-founder, someone that, first just generally, you always need a business partner, someone that you can carry the ups and downs with, someone that you can confide in. Even if you have your financial director, your operations director, they're still your employees. So you really need a business partner, someone on your level. And if you can have a technical co-founder, someone that can program, and that, if you are just starting a digital business, I mean, that's obviously absolutely ideal.
Yeah.
But to teach yourself how to program is just lots of hours reading, absorbing as much information as you can. There's actually lots of online tools at the moment, like Code Academy, that teaches you how to code through like a game type interface.
And it makes it a little bit more simpler, more interactive.
Yeah, they gamify it. They like gamify the education around programming. But you're going to have to spend countless hours like learning and
figuring it out.
Yeah, completely. But it is very important, because I see lots of digital businesses failing because you have someone that doesn't understand programming or digital. They've got an idea, and then developers are building them something that wasn't quite what they set out to build, because either their scoping initially wasn't right because they didn't know how to scope the project because lack of experience, or the developers took them for a ride, and then often digital businesses die because the platform isn't strong enough.
Yeah.
Or your marketing, search and social marketing around marketing your idea isn't strong enough. So I think it's very important to have a strong base in that sense.
And I think in South Africa we're going to have that problem quite a bit, because I mean the whole programming world is quite new.
There's not a lot of courses that you can actually study at the tertiary educational institutes. Yeah, so you do computer science, but we've hired a lot of computer science students, and they're super green when they come out.
Yeah.
So
because I mean, programming is one thing, but then implementing the business side to it is a whole different spectrum.
Totally. The challenges of being an entrepreneur, I guess.
Yeah, no, definitely. So Blueworld Communities was actually pretty successful. I mean, in 2009, was it? Did you win an award?
Yes, I think so. Feels like forever ago, but yeah.
You guys got a few $1,000s. I mean, quite a big...
The Nokia Award.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
It's $85,000 or something for that?
Yeah, so I mean, at the time, Apple had just released the iPhone and iTunes and the App Store, obviously completely disrupting the smartphone market. Before that, it was like Nokia and Samsung, and they would preload the apps on your phone for you. And that's the only real way you could get apps. There was no like App Store.
Brilliant, eh?
There was no real App Store. So they didn't see that coming. And then in falling behind, no one was building apps for the Nokia App Store. And even till this day,
I mean, they've dropped off the bandwagon completely.
Totally.
I mean, you can see they're trying to aggressively come back with a whole
Windows
bunch of
now,
stuff. But see, they're battling.
Yeah, they're tough. They didn't see that coming. So to incentivize developers to build applications for the Nokia App Store, they hosted this Innovations Award, and it was for the developers that could build the most innovative app. So we came up with the idea, having quite a lot of developers within Blueworld Communities, to build an app and enter this competition, and we built an app called Afridoctor. And what Afridoctor could do is you could follow a series of prompts, like a wizard putting in your ailment or whatever's wrong with you, and the app would attempt to diagnose you. And because we were part of Media24 at the time, we got the data from Health24, their health site.
Sure.
You could actually take photos of like a skin ailment or something that's wrong and then send it in, and then we had doctors at Health24 diagnose whatever was wrong with you.
Yeah.
And obviously, within that sphere, there's a lot of legal issues there. So the novelty of the app, it was a great idea. We executed it really well. It was a J2ME app, so it could work on the Nokia platform. But we never really got massive traction with it. But we won the $85,000 prize, excuse me, from Nokia.
Yeah.
We were 23 at the time. I mean,
$85,000.
We were like, what are we going to do with this money?
It's like freaking out, definitely.
Funny enough, we spent it fairly quickly. But it was very cool. I mean, it was just a little side project, and it was something cool to enter and win. Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. And I mean, one of the things that you're super successful is building up these successful platforms and actually managing to sell it off. And with Blueworld Communities, you got it was Media24 that bought you out, right?
Yes.
And it was a short amount of time before they actually did buy you out,
yes.
which from a business perspective is actually a great business story.
Yeah, I mean, lots of luck. As with anything, you need an element of luck and good timing as well. So we built these communities, and Media24 had lots of mature audiences on Fin24 and Women24 and News24. We had this like super youth audience because we'd been taking photos in nightclubs, obviously. It's quite attractive for them to get this youth audience, and we had a great platform, the social networking platform, and a good team behind it as well. It was like an acqui-hire as well. They wanted the team to, get that cool, agile, innovative, development-wise team in within their business. So they reached out to us out of the blue, which was really cool. So JP Farinya,
excuse the pun, eh?
Yeah. JP Farinya reached out to us, who was the chief commercial officer of 24.com at the time, which is sort of the digital arm of Media24, and he's like, hey guys, let's chat.
Yeah.
And we had I was actually in Joburg at the time because Blueworld Communities had investors in Johannesburg, and they made us go to Johannesburg and stay there so they could be close and see how we were spending their investment. So flew down from Joburg, met with 24.com and demoed our technology, showed them our stats, and it all happened fairly quickly. Yeah. They acquired our business. It wasn't a big transaction, a few million rand, but at the time, I mean, we were kids, so it was like, really cool. I mean, we thought it was like insane. And we were one of the first sort of Web 2 businesses that were acquired, and it's because of this wave of this Facebook and MySpace and YouTube, and America was going crazy.
Yeah.
Post the dot-com bust.
Social media platform sort of thing.
Post the dot-com bust, this is really the rally of the internet again, where all these social platforms started merging, and they were actual real businesses with real revenue models. So the American investors were like super focused on it. There was lots of money then, and Media24 had no like social community type stuff going. They just had these like newsy websites, like One Way, just reading. We had like read and write. Users could upload their own content, and it was a user generated content.
Different.
Totally. So it was cool for them to get these like communities and youth audience to within their business. So it was a cool deal for us.
Yeah, brilliant. So you say, I mean, it was a lot of luck, but I mean, there's a whole thing about it's not what you know, it's who you know. I mean, we heard that phrase so many times, but at the same time, you need to get yourself into the right place at the right time. So what has made you guys so successful with that?
Trying to spot trends, I guess, and look, no one knows what the next big trend is. If I did, I wouldn't be sitting here, but
you guys have pretty much hit it spot on each time, and what do you think has made you guys so savvy when it comes to understanding new trends? Is there any specific things that you guys look at? And I mean, you do a lot of research and that sort of stuff, but what do you guys do to make it?
Yeah, so I mean, travel a lot. So traveling always gives you a good perspective on things. I do a lot of work in operations in our businesses, and you get so stuck with the day-to-day stuff that often you can't have that bird's eye view to be able to get news perspective in your business. So travel a lot, go to the big markets like America and Germany and England, and try to spot what's going on there, and then apply those concepts to our markets using our network of contacts to make it happen. Yeah. Network is key. I mean, it's everything.
Networking is huge. Yeah.
If you could pick up a phone call and put something together because you've just met a guy that has a piece of technology and you can form a new business, obviously it's very, very important. So, and the network only comes over time with more and more business you do and more people you encounter. But yeah, and also just hiring the right people. Putting, the key is, one of the things that I always say to entrepreneurs, and what we try to do as well, is to get people smarter than you are, working in your
Which
business.
Is brilliant, yeah.
And then let go and let them do their thing. So
definitely,
that's really helped us. But yeah, I'm there's not a specific thing I can be like, this is the formula.
Yeah, no,
just
definitely.
Somehow happened organically.
It's just being aware of it, really.
Sure.
Yeah. And what about going forward into the future? I mean, programming, how important is that going to be, like for businesses?
Oh, mega. So I always say programming, being a developer is like being the new stockbroker. So in the 90s, stockbroking, you were just like, killing it. And
well, that's a good phrase. I mean, I like that analogy.
Yeah. So now, if you're a developer, it'd be impossible to be unemployed. I mean, every single business needs to have something on the internet. All the consumers' behaviors are moving online. People are shopping online. They're banking online. They're consuming content online. They're communicating online. So, and all of these applications need programmers, and all of the businesses need to plug into those networks, and they need developers to be able to do that as well. So, and if you have kids, I would say immediately push them to do programming and maths, because you'll have a massively bright future. And the internet. It's just growing more and more and more. I think the internet's going to be booming for the next 50 years.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
So
I mean, it's only really starting to get the real traction now.
Yeah, I mean, Facebook's not more than 10 years old. And think about life pre-Facebook in terms of socializing with friends. So there's so many sectors as well that the internet hasn't disrupted. Traditional sectors that the internet will disrupt, which they're starting to do now, like Uber that's disrupting transport, and Airbnb that's disrupting small-time accommodation.
Yeah, no,
so
it's
this is going to keep happening, and
the nice thing about it is it's at your fingertips, literally.
Totally.
It's like it's an app away nowadays.
Completely.
And most of these apps are for free.
Completely. So there's a whole generation that's growing up with the internet, from literally growing up with the internet. I mean, we all got the internet when we were like 13, 14. They're literally growing up with the internet. They have iPads in their hands from when they're 2, 3 years old. So there's a whole new generation that's going to be starting businesses, crazy things. They're just so digital native because they've just had the internet all their lives, and they're going to want to do all of their activity online as well.
Yeah.
So,
and what about branding for an individual? I mean, branding is going to be internet bound completely nowadays. It's no longer CVs and that sort of stuff. It's going to be MySpace or about.me or blogging or whatever that sort of thing is from an internet point of view. So what do you guys think on that?
Branding's huge, yeah. So it's actually quite fascinating where you create these presences about yourself and do things online, and then Google indexes it. And if I Google my name now, there's like stuff on there that I don't really want people to see. Like embarrassing interviews from like 10 years ago. So that's something to keep in mind. But I think you need to make the decision whether you want your brand to be bigger than your businesses. When I was younger, I did a lot of press, and often my brand would be bigger than the business, and at times it actually became quite irritating, specifically if you want to start new businesses and remove yourself from that business. Once you've hired some really solid people to take over the business and run with it, often people would be like, oh, where's Charl? Why isn't he in the meetings? And you're trying to make yourself operationally less involved. So I think you need to decide if you want your business's brand to be huge or yourself. Obviously, when you have a big brand yourself, it's great for networking, and networking is key. So
I suppose each industry will have different preferences, whether it's yourself as a brand or your company as a brand or whatever the case, right?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so when it comes to startups that you've done, what is the one startup that sticks out that was just a complete failure?
I knew you were going to ask that, and I've been thinking about that. Oh, okay, yes. So we did a business called VitaBox.
Okay.
So it was a JV with...
I actually remember that.
Yeah.
I remember speaking to you about
that.
Yeah.
So it was... 24.com wanted us to do it, so we built it for them, but they allowed us to run the whole business. It was a vitamin subscription service online. So you would be like, I'm a guy, or I'm an athlete, or I'm a mom, and then we would tailor a box of vitamins and supplements to your lifestyle and then ship it to you every single month. And you pay a subscription fee. So great annuity revenue, in theory, and... the margin on vitamins should be really high, which ultimately it wasn't. And I think it was just too ahead of its time. In very mature markets like Holland and the States and in Germany, where there's such high credit card penetration and online behavior is so mature, those things work really well. But here in South Africa, I think the the consumers were wary to subscribing to a service to send them their vitamins every month. So we did that with them, and it didn't really work. We had all of Media24's marketing behind it, like millions of rands of banner advertising value, and it just didn't work. But we learned a lot of how to set up an online store and how to do conversion tracking and integrating with payment gateways, and really just everything to do with building an online store, which at the time we'd not done. So that was at least a very cool learning curve and a plus that we took away from it, but ultimately a total failure.
Yeah, but I mean, the positive is, once again, you've learned so many new things to go forward into the future.
Yep.
Okay, cool. And going forward, like your new setup at the moment is founding OnNet.
Yes.
Tell us more about OnNet and what you guys are doing at the moment.
So we, after selling our business to Media24, we had to work there for about 3 or 4 years to reach a full earnout and reach our audience targets for the communities, and try to close the deal. And eventually Bradley and I, being entrepreneurial, we kind of got over it and we decided to leave, and we saw a gap in the digital agency space, that there were lots of big creative agencies, and their clients' ad budgets were moving from radio and print and TV to online. Yeah. And they were kind of out of their depth technically in terms of how to execute their clients' online campaigns. Because you can, you can film a TV set segment, or you can create a radio ad or create a print ad, but digital campaigns are largely driven by technology, which is quite tough to execute on if you don't have a bunch of developers. And big agencies hiring their own dev teams, there's massive problems in that as well. So we saw a gap in creating a technical agency where we would plug into other agencies, become their agency's agency, if you will, and help them to execute on their clients' digital campaigns. So we have a bunch of platforms that we've built that does a bunch of things that are common to agency campaigns, and then we license the technology to them. We're about 35 people in Greenpoint, and mostly developers. It's a very hacker culture, technology focus, and we've just hired our first performance marketing executive who's going to help us do performance marketing. So, paid media within Google and Facebook and Twitter. I think this is a massive part of the future. Now that Twitter and Facebook is listed, they're going to be putting lots of pressure on generating revenue, and a lot of the revenue comes from performance marketing, pay-per-click stuff, pay-per-install, pay-per-acquisition stuff. So a lot of ad budget will be flowing there because it's ultimately measurable, which I think the brand managers are really enjoying, measuring their ad budgets, to the T. And as OnNet, we can build your property and then drive audience to it now as well with the performance marketing. And I think those are two big things. There are these big full-service agencies, which was very popular, and I think obviously I have friends that have built massive businesses, building out their full-service agencies, but I think there becomes inefficiencies which you're not quite good at one particular thing. Yeah,
you don't specialize anymore. Totally. It's become a generalist and not a specialist.
Sure. So I looked at what happened in the UK, and the whole full-service agency model is kind of falling apart, and now there are these more niche agencies that are emerging, like UX agencies and technical agencies around specific topics. And I think in future, a lot of the brands are going to start internalizing a lot of their creative process, a lot of their advertising objectives, and then they'll outsource some key elements to niche external agencies. And I think tech will always be that, where they'll rather just get tech guys to help them deliver on their technical platform. And that's the vision for OnNet, at least. Yeah.
Okay, and OnNet is really making headlines at the moment. It's just growing so fast. How are you guys managing that, as the founders and directors there?
So definitely out of our depth in that sense, because we went from 10 to 35 people in 1 year, which is lots of challenges on the company's culture, lots of new people joining all the time, and the induction process needs to be really refined so they get up to speed very quickly. And there's lots of pressure on the company culture because now lots of new faces are arriving, lots of different personalities. That core little band of married men that was in the beginning just smashing out projects, now there's 35 of them. So you have to really work lots in company culture and getting people together, company events like drinks on Fridays, etc., to be able to get them all to gel, and
creating a community.
Totally, and hiring is very important as well, and very difficult as well, because we need right now we need to hire another 10 people, and there just aren't developers in Cape Town. So now that puts pressure on your hiring, and sometimes you might get the odd guy that wasn't right and upsets the whole apple cart. So it's very difficult in resources as well. There's strains on all sorts of resources. Your office space and your internal processes, project management, the way that you structure and roll out your projects. Now there are bigger teams working on these things. processes that we just made up that now need to be more like formalized and really thought out to involve bigger teams and execute on bigger projects. So
proper workflows.
yeah,
and that
totally.
sort of
So lots of pressure on that, but it's been a fun ride. You know, with the agency space, it's not really a scalable business. So more clients mean more staff.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, it's actually a terrible business in that sense. But because of there's so much digital opportunity now, our biggest challenge is picking the right project to take on. There's so much work out there. I mean, we don't even have a website, funny enough. We just have a little splash page that says like, hey, we're too busy, and if you're a developer, contact us.
I mean, that's a cool problem to have.
Yeah, I know.
Hey.
You know, busy agency. You know, this agency with a good website is not busy enough. I always say.
Exactly.
So yeah, I mean, there's just, you know, there'll always be a good business. It's just a tough business to scale. You know?
Okay, and you're hiring and like getting new staff on board. What do you focus on? Like, who are you looking for? What sort of characteristics are you looking for in people to join the team? Because I mean, you guys are a very niche, trendy bunch of guys, so you don't want anyone just to come on the team. What do you look for in someone?
Totally. So we have managed organically somehow just to create a very hard-working culture. So no one really leaves the office before 6:30, which is amazing. You know, even sometimes we're like, you know, you guys can go home, and they're just sitting there like programming, really immersed in their work. So I don't know how we've managed to pull that off, but to keep that going, that's something that we really look at hiring. We always say that you'll learn in 3 months at OnNet what you'll learn anywhere else in a year. And we're trying to hire those like mid-level developers that we can upscale into rock stars very quickly. Guys that are hungry, guys that are willing to learn.
Rock star, that's brilliant.
So that's very important. And we've actually hired people full-time just to surf through LinkedIn, upgrade their accounts to premium LinkedIn accounts, and just surf through LinkedIn to try find people to hire them. Because working with recruiters, you don't always get the desired results because recruiters don't know how to vet CVs, and you just deal with a lot of bad candidates, and we don't have time to do like 50 interviews. Like we often hire people like right there on the spot after the second interview. So
yeah, because I mean, I suppose you know whether it's the right person or not. You know, you can pick it up.
So I rely on our CTO and our lead developers to interview the guys as well, and we give them tests to do that they have to do right then and there, and test post the meeting to be able to you know, vet their quality. But it's always difficult as well. Someone can really sell themselves well in the meeting, and so the code test is quite important.
Yeah. Now, one of your attributes that I can remember since 15 years old is that you are extremely hardworking guy. Do you have any idea how this all came about? Is it something that you've inherited from the family, or is it just because you're passionate at what you do? Or
so I think that's key. You know, I think, you know, even if you're working just as a career person, working somewhere, I think you need to be doing what you're passionate about, so that, you know, they say that you don't work a day in your life, which is you know, semi-bullshit, because even when you are passionate about something, you can have massive ups and downs, and I don't wake up every day going like, yes, work, you know, like there's, you know, but I do really enjoy what I do, and my dad worked really, really hard all his life. I think I'm a lot like him, so I think that's where I get that from.
Your dad was extremely successful, that's why, you know?
Yeah, completely. So, but I just found out at an early age, very luckily, what I wanted to do, and I immersed myself into it, and I just really love building online destinations and building out online revenue and building teams to achieve that, you know, putting people together, starting new businesses. That first 6 months of a new business, the most exciting part, where everything's like new and you're really putting things together, and the product and getting your first sales going is really exciting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's, you know, you're right. I think it could be something that I inherited from my father, just like loving, you know, loving working. You know.
But I mean, it's paid off big time, because I mean, you've also been, by Mail and Guardian, they've ranked you at the top 200 executives.
So it's the top 200 young executives, something like, you know, 7 years ago.
Yeah.
So,
well, which is still cool. I mean, it shows the hard work paying off.
Sure.
And what about now? You guys deal with pretty big clients. I mean, Media24. I mean, Blueworld Communities bought out by them within what, a year or 2 years?
Yeah, a couple of years. I think 2 or 3 years.
I mean, that in itself is a success story. And then you've got Cell C, you've got Shoprite.
Shoprite checkers,
Yes. So how do you guys land such big clients? Like, what makes you guys different to the other guys out there?
Execution, I guess. So we've got some really good case studies of things that we've built and executed on, and I really enjoy presenting, doing business development. So getting the right meetings, the right decision makers, and presenting to them the technology that we've built. And there's various strategies within that. Like with Shoprite Checkers, we work with 99 Cents, which is their agency, but we've plugged into 99 Cents to help them with digital for Shoprite Checkers. Help them with the technical aspects. You know, they're a massive agency. They've done amazing things. But technology is always tough as Checkers wants to spend more and more online, driving their digital properties. So we've plugged into them, and then so doing, we started working with Shoprite Checkers directly, which is great. I mean, a massive opportunity there, great brands to work with. Media24, we obviously had lots of kudos in the group after being aboard and doing things within the group. So when we left there, we had lots of great relationships, and we leveraged those relationships to be able to get more work from them.
Okay, and with Media24, I mean, you're zooped up that you sold out to them, and then you got Blueworld Communities. Yes. Now, did you approach them with a proposal, or did they approach you guys, or how did that go?
They approached us because they wanted to do something in social. So they saw what was happening with Facebook and MySpace, and they wanted a part of it. And they have massive audiences, and we had the technology, a youth audience, and a good team. So they reached out to us. It was cool.
So how did they find you guys?
So that talks to personal brand, I think, that you touched on earlier. So at the time, I was blogging and doing all sorts of stuff online. So I was quite visible in the local industry. And the South African internet industry is like very small. So it was quite easy to be visible. I spoke at a lot of conferences and at workshops and little private dinner things, and
so you work pretty hard on that.
And they
brand,
right? Then we were always like, hey, this is us, this is the Blueworld story, and they just somehow found us.
Okay, cool. Well, that leads us to your blog. I mean, you got it's Bandwidth blog, right?
Bandwidthblog.com, which is a little hobby tech news website, which I'm trying to take a little bit more seriously these days, but I often don't have much time for it. But we've used Bandwidth Blog really, and it speaks to the other points, to get into conferences for free and to get meetings with the right people. So often we'll do an interview of someone on Bandwidth Blog, someone prominent that we want to chat to, do the interview, and then post that you have a relationship with them that you can then discuss business with. So it's quite a good strategy, Trojan horse type strategy. But generally, Bandwidth Blog writes about local internet companies and about gadgets, handsets, mobiles, obviously massive, and there's huge amounts of new phones coming out all the time. It reviews phones. Yeah. It's not really a big business, it's more of a hobby, and advertising isn't really a solid revenue model.
It's like a pro bono sort of thing that you've got that are running.
It helps us build our brand as well, because we've got this mouthpiece that we can use to communicate to the market, and it does about 60, 70,000 visitors a month. So
oh wow, that's brilliant.
It's cool, yeah.
And what about blogging in general? What do you think the future of blogging is?
Sure, blogging is come and gone, I think. I think there's lots of different ways to publish content online now. Medium.com, I'm sure you've seen, is this new long form type platform that's created where people are contributing content to. I think Twitter as well, people are writing much shorter form content because your attention span is really short, so getting your message across on Twitter, there's that as well. So I don't, for my sins, I don't get enough time to follow blogs or read much online because I'm so busy. But I think publishing in general obviously is moving online. People are creating content and putting it onto the internet, whether they're doing that through blogging or through Twitter or a microblogging service or medium.com. I mean, it depends.
Okay, and if you had to say, if someone wanted to really get their online brand going, what sort of route would you advise people to take today?
Yeah, create unique content like you're doing right now. I think it's a great idea. Video content's obviously quite tough to create, so you've got a real good niche here as well to create video content and engage with people online. So go to Twitter, whatever brand, whatever sector you want to operate in, find other thought leaders in that space and start interacting with them on Twitter. They'll start replying to you. Their followers will see their interactions with you, and you can start building your brand like that. Create content, guest post onto other platforms so you can tap into other people's audiences. Network, go to networking events, meet as many people as possible.
Okay, cool. And who out there do you think has actually got this down? Anyone specific?
I have a really good friend, Adrian Pinar, whose online name is 80, and he's done a great at branding himself. He's written a few books.
He's written a new book at the moment on branding.
Completely. I think he's always been really good at that, and he's been really successful in his businesses. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure.
Yeah, but I think that's a great example. I mean, AD has done a brilliant job with online branding, and that's what made him get to sell Woo themes at such a good profit.
Yeah, completely, yeah.
Okay, cool. And now, just what is the one thing that no matter what startup you go into, you will always take with you, that is like a guarantee, no fail sort of strategy?
Oh, there's nothing. That doesn't exist. I think that's a fallacy. But hard work and determination. I think you're definitely going to fail, and how you pick yourself up is the key point. Hire really smart people, surround yourself with really smart people. Once the business gets to a certain size, let go of, you can't control everything. Really let go and allow your executives to do that 80% where you just take care of the 20%. They're not going to be able to do something as well as you can or could, but that's okay. You can manage that little bit of downside. So that's something that I struggled with because I was involved in operations, going to all the meetings and managing all of the projects, and I started getting stretched really thin. And when we wanted to start new businesses, it became a massive problem because I couldn't scale my own time. So we hired lots of solid people and just let them do their thing. And when you run a business, there's only two real states. It's euphoria and terror. There's very, very little. It's the middle ground. You're either in heaven or you're in the dumps, and just prepare yourself for that.
It never goes smoothly. Hey, it's always up or down.
You have huge wins. Some days you're like, wow, running a business is amazing. You just killed this contract. The next day, the client's hating on you, and you're like, what am I doing? I hate life.
Definitely. Now, with your operations, like with you in general and your personality, you've kind of found your niche, and it's more or less the operation sort of space, right? Now, how did you come to terms with that?
Because I was always a one-man show, I think. Right in the beginning, building my own websites, I was handling all elements of the businesses back then. They were tiny little websites, don't really even businesses, but I like executing and managing projects. I have a good product sense as well, so I can manage the rollout of the products. I can manage development and design teams really well, having done development myself and having briefly studied design at City Varsity. So. I really love being in the trenches there with the staff, like smashing out projects, I don't get to do a lot of that these days as we've scaled our business to a big size and we've started new businesses, but I really do enjoy operations. I've tried to, I'm not just doing that, I really
definitely
enjoy doing business development, meeting new people, building network, presenting, but quite right. Operations has always been something that I've, just naturally been good at, and I think it's because I started when I was really young, just being a one-man show, having to manage and roll out projects myself.
Yeah, and we've got this generation, we've been speaking about techie stuff and programming and that, but going into the future, social media, how big a role is that going to play within a business community, not within a personal community, but within the business community?
Massive. So if you think about Facebook, it was founded about 10 odd years or so, and if you think about life pre-Facebook for brands communicating with consumers, it's completely changed the game. And Twitter as well, I think it's massive. The key for brands is that they need to have conversations with their customers, on these social platforms, Twitter, Facebook, etc. There's all these other platforms as well, like Instagram and Pinterest, etc. It's pointless just blasting your messages out there just to tick the box that you are on these platforms.
Definitely, because I think the people on the different platforms, whether it's Instagram or Twitter, they've got a unique way of communication, and they want you to communicate in that sort of
completely
platform, right?
Completely. So, I think these social properties will just continue to emerge. Like what's a trend that I'm seeing overseas is that entrepreneurs are trying to break off pieces of Facebook and build them as businesses by themselves. So Instagram took the popularity of photo sharing on Facebook and then created a standalone app based on that and sold for $1 billion. And then WhatsApp looked at the communication, instant messaging happening on Facebook and then broke that piece off and launched that business by itself as well. And I think that a lot of that is happening where people are looking at certain verticals of Facebook, isolating them and then building their own business out of that, and that'll continue to happen, and that'll continue to create social platforms which brands need to interact with their consumers on. And it's very careful in terms of your online reputation management, in terms of spotting what's happening with your brand, in terms of the consumer discussion. I've seen some nightmare brands, where something happens where the brand does something wrong, and then people take to Twitter and Facebook to voice their concerns, and then it just goes viral. It's a platform to have a direct line of communication with your customers, and brands should use that. Like I see the ISPs do that really well. Like, what if all of a sudden, if your ADSL is slow, some guy tweets Afridoctor and goes, "Hey, my ADSL is slow, whatever," and they respond right away.
Straight away.
Other people can see, and they're like, "Wow,
it's
they
actually like live streaming or live communication."
Yeah, it's a CRM, like CRM right there.
Customer relations.
So I think that it's very important for that element. It's important for that CRM element, for building your brand, but also just be aware to manage the perception of your brand. And really, if there's a problem with a consumer, just sort it out. And often you'll see them tweeting or posting an update saying, "Oh, thanks X brand for fixing XYZ." After the previous day, they were massively disgruntled. So it's a great way to have a direct communication with your customers.
No, most definitely. I think it's going to be like the way of the future, in my opinion, when it comes to the whole social media platform, when it comes to businesses.
Social's not going anywhere. It's huge.
It's huge. And I think it's only going to get bigger and bigger as we go along. So you guys are obviously approached often when it comes to new startups and all that sort of stuff. How do you get your mind around what you're going to do and what's not worth your while?
We look for businesses that are scalable. Having this agency business has really taught us a good lesson that it's not a scalable business. It's a very tough business. More clients mean more staff. So we try find businesses that are scalable, business models where you can generate annuity revenue. We've started a business in this sense called SafeSmart, safesmart.co.za, and it's a lead generation business. We have relationships with call centers where we can give you insurance leads to a particular call center. So we'll plug into audience partners. They'll send us visitors. People can click and compare like insurance plans and funeral cover plans and cell phone contracts, etc. And then once they apply, it goes to the call center, and then the call center calls the person and tries to close the lead, and then we get paid per lead. Okay, whether we do 10 leads, 1,000 leads, or 500,000 leads, we need the same amount of staff. So it's an infinitely scalable business. Yeah. And it's a defensive business as well, which is something that we look at as well, because we have those relationships with the financial institutions, which is hardish to come by. Yeah. So having barriers to entry is very important. Having a very scalable business model is very important, and annuity revenue is very important as well. Yeah. So you don't have to chase that flash in the pan sale. You can just build your subscription revenue or your lead revenue or whatever the annuity revenue model is over time.
So you'll do a lot of those analyzing, or you'll analyze most of those sort of startup options before you would even look at going into it, right?
Totally. So we've got a good bullshit detector. I've been doing this for almost 15 years now as well. So if you do anything for that long, you have a bit of experience on what's going to work, what's going to work, what's not going to work. Something we stay away from is the big popular verticals that the Americans control. I always say, like instant messaging and social and mobile payments. These are like huge gaming. These are verticals that you can't really disrupt the deep-pocketed Silicon Valley startups or companies in the valley, the capital there. You won't be able to compete against them. So we try to start businesses that aren't on that sort of first-tier consumer internet level.
Okay, cool. And what books do you guys recommend at the moment?
So for my sins, I don't read that much. Every year my goal is like, cool, I'm going to read lots. And I bought my Kindle, and it's just like I never use it. But a book that I really enjoyed was Ben Horowitz's book, The Hard Things About the Really Hard Things. And it's about how him and Mark Andreessen built their businesses like Netscape Navigator and Opsware, and the lessons that he provides in there is unbelievable. And they were like also young kids just listing businesses for billions of dollars. They learned a lot of lessons, lost a lot of money, made a lot of money as well. So that's a very good book, The Hard Things About the Really Hard Things. Check it out.
Okay, cool. So if you had one night, right, and you could go out for dinner with anybody, who would that be? Who's your role models? Who are people that you look up to at the moment?
Tough one.
Let's give you a table of 4 or 5.
Okay. Oh, that I can choose from.
Yeah.
I'm struggling choosing one. The obvious answer is obviously Elon Musk. Total god. And being South African as well is very cool.
He's really put South Africa on the maps in America, right?
Yeah, completely.
And he did PayPal. He's got the new cars.
Yeah, Tesla,
the electric cars,
and the Solar City as well. And SpaceX. Doing some crazy stuff. Just executing on stuff that people just dream of doing, and tackling such challenging projects. I think his businesses are going to be worth hundreds and hundreds of billions in years to come, because it's just doing like solar and cars and space travel, these like crazy verticals that
he's just on a whole nother level.
Completely. But what I've liked to do is a lot of my friends are actually my business partners as well. So it kind of creates this like automatic mentoring all the time. So always during the week we're going out for dinner, etc., and we're like mentoring each other. So my friends are my business partners.
Which is brilliant.
I talk shop like all the time. So I guess it talks to being a bit of a workaholic. So I have mentors and friends with me all the time that are building their own businesses as well. Like Bradley Voges, my business partner in OnNet, and Jesse.
And you guys have walked quite a long road with each other.
9 years, never any problems.
You really are like brothers, and
completely.
You guys trust each other 100%. And
totally. Do
you think that's quite a big role of your success for the two of you?
Definitely.
The two of you joining forces?
Oh, of course, definitely. Like I said, you always need a business partner to bounce off and equalize you when you're being a little bit too emotional because you got a bad email from a client or whatever the case may be. So to help you with the downs and celebrate the ups. So we've been doing business for 8-9 years together. So I think that's massive. I've got another friend, Jesse Hempson Struthers, which absolute golden touch guy, brilliant entrepreneur. He's got a sports betting business and an ESP and a few other businesses. And we're doing Save Smart together, Brad and I and him and another friend, Luke. Just have this network of guys around you that have succeeded and failed and learned from, and just someone to bounce ideas off when you're having dinner. I think that's very important. Yeah,
I think that's brilliant. Okay, cool. And if we had to leave anyone with young aspiring or any aspiring entrepreneur, if we had to leave them with some information from Charl Norman, what would you like to give them?
Them starting out a business?
Yeah, or just aspiring to be better business people, better entrepreneurs.
Be passionate at what you do, obviously, so that you can just work day and night, because you will in the beginning, to run your business. Get a business partner to help you. I think those are two very important things, and just get ready for the highs and the lows. Like I said, there's always euphoria and terror in business, no middle ground, and it is really like that. So.
And it's managing those highs and lows.
Yeah, of course, completely.
And then for you, in your case, you've managed it through having a really good partnership and you guys bouncing off each other. Now, do you and Ben Brad complement each other when it comes to roles and skill sets, or are you guys pretty similar with that?
Completely different, which I think is the key. So, good point. Brad's really strong with finance and admin and business development. He studied in economics in Holland, and I'm more like tech operations side. So together, I think it's a good combination.
Yeah, brilliant, awesome. Well, Charl, thanks so much for joining us
today.
Thanks. GoneFromSale.com.
GoneFromSale.com. Check it out.
Awesome, bud. Thanks so much.
Cool.
Cheers. Bye.